Today I'm going to be making something super yummy, and this is my devil's food cake. Here are the ingredients that we need. 1.5 cups of cake and pastry flour, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 1/2 cup of coffee, 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. For our first step, I'm going to sift all of my dry ingredients together. So that's the flour, the cocoa powder, baking soda, and baking powder, and a little bit of salt. We'll just get that in there. Okay, that's good. Okay, then we'll start with our wet. So I've got my 2 eggs in here. Grab my mixer, start mixing those together. I'm going to add in all of the oil and then all of my sugar. And I just want to get all of this really well combined. I'll get my vanilla in there as well. And then a little bit of my coffee, just to loosen this up. And then we'll start pouring in some of our dry ingredients. About half. And just slowly incorporate that. And the reason why I'm not doing everything in one shot is because you get less clumping and lumping if you do it this way. If you dump everything in one shot, you will get more lumps. So this is just a nice way to do it. It's a good habit to get into. Okay, once that's combined, I'll add a little bit more coffee. And then the rest of my dry. Then I'll get all of my milk in. And the last bit of our coffee. Once you think that is nicely mixed, then we are ready to fill our cake tins. So I have 2 cake tins here. These are Wilton pans, and they are 9 inches in diameter. So I'm just going to make this really easy. And we're just going to fill these up halfway. And I have greased and floured each one of my pans. Okay, that's good. So I've got my oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to pop these in and do them for about 25 minutes or so. Alright, there's my first cake. And then my second cake. And I did these for a total of 25 minutes in my 350 degree oven. So these are extremely hot right now. I'm going to let them cool down. Then I'm going to unmold them and I'll come back and show you the final product. So my cakes have completely cooled now, and I'm just going to get them onto my turntable. And this little thing that I'm using here is a Wilton little cake mover, and this thing is amazing. I use this all the time. You can see how large this is compared to the cake. So it grabs your whole cake in one shot. Really, really nice. So I've got some really nice vanilla buttercream icing here. And I'll link to that at the end of this video if you wish to see it. I'll put a link in the description box. And if you don't have a spatula at home, you can just use the back of a knife, or even a metal ruler or a plastic ruler. That works equally as well. Be creative. And then our second layer. So just gently get that on there. And try to make sure that's centered, because it's very, very hard to move this once it's on there. And then we'll go on with our second layer coating, our upper coating. Now, if you want a perfect cake what you want to do is you want to put a thin layer of frosting, and you're going to frost the whole thing, and it just has to be very, very thin. And what you're going to do is you're going to let that dry so that it forms a crust, and that's called your crumb coat. And what that does, it allows you later on to put your final coat on there, and you will not pick up any of the actual cake crumb, so that it doesn't get incorporated into your perfect icing. So on your upper layer, you want to be a little bit more careful so that you don't incorporate crumbs from underneath. We'll start working on our sides. And I'm just frosting up my sides. Just want to make this look nice and rustic. That looks good. So the top of my cake has solidified a little bit. If I touch it, it's not sticky anymore. And that's what I want, because now I can apply a second layer and it won't mix in with the cake underneath. So that kind of acts like a little, a protection barrier. Okay, and then we're just gonna, I'll just get this in here. I want to make this look nice and rustic. You could pipe some nice rosettes on here if you wished. I like rosettes, maybe I will, but I don't think so. And that looks pretty good. And for an optional last step, I'm just going to grate some chocolate right onto the top. So I'm just using a little box grater with a brick of chocolate and just get a little bit on there. Perfect. So there we have it, my devil's food cake with vanilla buttercream icing. The only thing left to do is to cut into it and grab a slice. So we'll just cut into our beautiful cake. Oh, this smells so good. Look at that. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. Oh, that looks so good. Super, super dark. Really, really nice. Let me zoom in. So I've just zoomed in a little bit. So there we have it. My devil's food cake. You can see how nice this is. Really, really moist. Really, really dark. So I hope you try out this cake. This is a really, really good cake. I can't say that enough. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Oh, that is so good.